Thank you so much.
You're
Thank
welcome. I'm
you.
sorry for your
No,
problem.
it's no problems at all.
So
No, thank you
sorry.
so
You're
much. No
welcome.
problems. Thank you. Just because I didn't get my bread on time, no problem. Just a little bit of sourdough. Don't know what's wrong with this now. The camera's weird. There we go. That's better. Well, my side of the camera's weird. Welcome everybody. They're lovely here. They're so kind and so patient, and any little thing and they see it as a problem. It's not a problem. There is no problem. Just relax. It's okay. You know. But the service here is fantastic. If you ever get a chance to come to Maya Ubud, it's beautiful. Even if it's just for a coffee, even if it's just to come and sit and admire that beautiful energy there. Do you know? I want to just. Somebody sent me a video about 15 minutes ago, and I watched the first 5 minutes and I had to switch it off. And I actually commented on the video, and it was regarding Madonna, her first ever interview over 40 years. The first thing that was said by the interviewer is, "Why now?" And, you know, what are you? She says, "Well, I want to talk spiritual." And I nearly spat my coffee out. It nearly like all I could see is all the satanic rituals performances that she's done over 40 years. At the beginning, she was, not too bad. She was a little bit tame, and then it just got more deeper and darker through the year, to the point where it's so satanic, it's in your face. So she wants to talk about Kabbalah. Well, for me, Kabbalah is you take that name and it's the Cabal. You take that name again, and it's basically it's the cult of Baal, B-A apostrophe A-L. And whether she's in it or not, you don't need to look too hard to just look at her performances, how they've been degrading, disgusting. The last few performances were so demonic. And I just wrote down, I said, first of all, when you're talking spirituality, there's two very different types of spirituality, and the type that you're talking about is very dark. Not my spirituality. It's disgusting, really. And I also said that you can't erase 40 years of satanic performances in one podcast. And to be fair, I just scrolled down and looked at the comments. I've come to the point in life where I realise that you can do as much damage and hate. You can do as much satanic stuff as you want, and basically get away with it from your next podcast. Basically, humanity has a flaw that it forgets all the bad things, and I think that is definitely a flaw. It isn't. It isn't. It's actually got us where we are now. We forgive so much and we forget so much, and that's the same as when you get pregnant and you have the baby and you're in pain. After having the baby, you say to everybody, "Never again," and then 2 years later, you're having another baby, and you say, "Do you remember when you were in that pain?" Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I forgot about it. So it's something. It's a good thing. Obviously, it's a good thing if you're a woman and you want children, because you've got to forget that pain if you have to go through it again. I had a massage the other day by a Balinese healer, and I literally was crying. I was crying. I was like spit coming out of my mouth, because he was using his elbow and he was getting rid of these crystallized negative energy, toxic stuff that's been stuck there for years. While he was doing it, I kept saying in my head, "Stop, stop, stop." But I didn't say stop. And all the way through that 2 hour painful experience, I mean, really painful. I know men moan about flu and stuff, but I was screaming inside. Talk about getting rid of knots. So now I'm like, I think I want another one before I leave, because there's just we forget the pain, and it's if God made us this way, that's quite phenomenal when you think about it, because what a perfect place to put humanity on a planet that forgets about suffering, to be to be to go through the suffering again and again and again, and we keep forgetting about that suffering. We keep forgetting about it. Yes, we hold it in our body. Our body doesn't forget about it, but we do. There's something that's being created, some DNA that stops us from remembering the pain and the suffering, and that goes on to other people as well. You know, our abusers, our the people that we live with. You know, they, again and again, they make us feel bad. They make us. They do things. They say things that, and we just 15 minutes later we forgive. You know, to a narcissistic abuser, to his wife, he punches her, or you know, spiritually speaking, you know, energetically speaking, with his words. Or a physical abuser, and then he comes back with flowers, and then all is forgiven. It's like we have been. It makes sense that I don't believe God created us. By the way, something created us to be this emotional and physical punch bag for demonic forces that live within bodies. So this is my belief, that's my feeling. The body isn't made of in the image of God. It may be made of the images of the gods that came here, right? We were made by the images of gods, but the spirit that lies within are all different. And it seems that the good people, I'm not talking about the NPCs, I'm talking about the people who feel, the people who are a spirit, not a body, a spirit that resides within these bodies. They see beyond. They remember things. They feel things. Whereas I think these bodies, predominantly, there's a lot of them, there's nothing inside there apart from the program. And that, like I said, that program is, no matter how much you are whipped, how much you are enslaved, no matter how much you are abused, you keep living, you keep going. You don't fight back, you don't say anything, you're obedient NPCs, and you just keep going. And I think that's the majority of humanity. It has to be. It's the only explanation I can come up with. I've talked to enough people in my life to see the glaze that they don't understand what I'm saying. And there's a spiritual connection to understanding what I'm talking about when I speak about spiritual things and deeper things. They have no clue. They can't process it in the sense of, I feel that. They don't feel it. They have to process it. They have to think it. In the computer has to make sense of it. And that, like I said, that breakdown of DNA, that glitch, stops them from moving forward and doing anything like you would do. And say, what do you mean? What do you mean? What? Just listen to what she's just said. 40 years of taking her clothes off and big breasts and open vaginas as a construct to a concerts. Demonic stuff, hugely demonic stuff. Demonic people have fallen over with demons. Well, do you not say? Speaking to an NPC, somebody who has no spirit inside them, I'll just look at you as if, what are you talking about? I don't, yes, no, What more do you want me to say? I'm inputting. What do you want me to say? It's like, stop what I want you to say. It's what, do you not feel what I'm saying? Does it not like come all over you and yes? Like, that's why you can't talk to 95% of the world. Because there is not a spirit in there, and the spirit where you come from, the 5%, I think, is made up of two types of spirit. One from our spirit world where we feed from love. So I feed from love, right? If you say something nice to me, if you're kind to me, I feed from that. That gives me strength. My battery life goes up. I feel amazing. I heal. Okay, that's the spirit world you and I come from. The other 2.5% come from another world, which is a world that feeds from suffering. They feed from hate, they feed from abuse, they feed from ritual, satanic abuse, they feed from any kind of suffering that you go through. They're already in that energy of suffering, but they see that as a light bath to them. That's beautiful. So when they're suffering, that's their joy. That's why they're not like you and I. That's how I see it over 20 years of doing this work, but I see it now over my lifetime. Since I probably was 8 years old, I saw firsthand darkness, invisible darkness. I saw it every night when I went to sleep. I understand entity, I understand trap spirit, I understand demonic spirit. I've worked with literally hundreds of people who have been, you could easily say back in the days when I started that nearly everybody had attachments that would be closer to the truth. And basically we call it dirty energy. I called it dirty energy to begin with. That is the pranic way. Then I changed my healing process to what I felt worked for me better than pranic, and that I eventually became pure energy healing, because I wanted it to be as pure as possible, not tainted, not copied. I wanted to be my own healer through my own method. That's why I call it pure energy healing. And anybody who, this isn't like, oh, you're full of shit, you teach people yours so that then they're not pure. No, actually, what I do is I show people how I heal, how I work to heal a client, and then it's up to them what direction they take with. So I'll say, this is how I heal, but what feels right to you? I'm not the teacher that says you follow everything that I do. No, that's not who I am. I don't guide that way. I say, what feels right to you as you're healing that client? Follow that, and you become pure to your own understanding, because I believe that 2.5% in this world who come from the spirit world are all pure healers if they don't copy. Darkness does its best to try and stop you from being the purity that you are. That's why when people came to the Pure Energy Healing Academy, they used to say, I learned pranic, I learned NP, whatever it is, I learned Reiki, but I've spent 4 days here, and now this is the final piece to the puzzle. And the final piece was liberation, freedom to express, freedom and a belief to believe in their own power and working in a way that felt right to them. So I have never been one to say ABC 1, 2, 3. That to me is the program. That to me is the deception. Now, it's good for NPCs because they need that. The NPCs, people without the spirit and soul, they're robots. They're basically bodies that are being created by the gods so that they are utilized for their own benefit. And the 2.5% of spirits that come from another world that feed from suffering and pain, they then use the NPCs. They change their battery life. Once that battery life's changed to suffering, they feed from that. That's why they hate you and I, because we live in this bodysuit that we have the ability to make that battery life positive and shine. And that's why the 2.5% of evil that run this world, basically they run this world, what they do is they attack us. So they attack good spirit because they don't like that light. That's basically how I see it. You can dress it up, you can simplify it, but that's how I see it, a simple version of that. So 95% are not of spirit. 2.5% are of good spirit that come from the spirit world, and 2.5% are the spirit world that feed from suffering, and we feed from love. So what we try and do is keep the energy high of love to try and help NPCs shine their positive energy light so that we feed from happiness and joy, and the darker ones that feed from the satanic, that create theatres or football pitches where they're doing music festivals, and then they're creating the frequency of disturbance and changing the frequency of the NPCs so that they can feed from them. At the same time, they're doing their ritual work, which is of this planet. So the ritual work is strengthening the world in whatever way you do it. So if you pray, if you hug somebody, if you send somebody a gift, your ritual is basically of love and kindness to make the world a better place. These people that I believe are demonic, who come from a demonic realm, a demonic, not hell, but another world called the spirit world, but it's a dark spirit world. They come into these bodies and they do the opposite of what we do. So when Madonna comes on after 40 years and starts talking about spirituality, her spirituality is real to her. Her spirituality, in my opinion, is demonic, completely demonic, and they feed from pain and suffering. So, you know, I'm sure you wouldn't want to live with that lady, because you would see straight away what kind of person that is. That person looks for, you know, suffering and pain and issues and shock energy. Whereas if you live with somebody who's from our spirit world, they just want peace. They don't want to see pain and suffering in this world. They want to be with people and sit with people who are kind and caring. You know, they want a long relationship. You know, I was in a relationship for 20 years, a happy relationship for 20 years. How many relationships had Madonna been in? How many relationships has she been happy in? This is a question that you ask. Well, maybe, you know, everything that I'm saying is making sense. And you can, you know, and these demonic forces, when they look at you and say, I'm spiritual, they mean it, because they are spiritual, because inside that body is a spiritual being, but it's not from the same spirit world as mine and yours. So just be aware of that. And it's always been like that, in my opinion. You know, one of the things of good spirits like you, I guess, let me start again. We come to this world and we are targeted by demonic forces and by evil. That's why you probably was bullied, right? You were probably bullied. I wish this person would stop sending me messages. Sorry guys, it's just on, just one after the other, especially when I'm doing a talk. Yeah, I wonder why. I wonder why. Again, that energy of somebody trying to hijack. Look, like, I haven't had a message sent for the past 20 hours, and now they're coming in one after the other. And I've talked about this here many times, where we hijacked when we're trying to talk about something wonderful. They know, evil knows, and they weave themselves around people to make sure that these things happen simultaneously to stop us from speaking love and truth. So I won't stop this conversation. I'll try and stick to it. So the conversation what we're having now is about you being born and going through suffering. Somebody's always trying to make you suffer. And it's like, why have I not had a beautiful, lovely life? Why is it that I've come into this world, I've got a beautiful mother, she ends up dead. A father who basically abused us all our life. Why is that? Why is it that good souls are targeted by that? Well, I've explained why. You know now why. I've just spent 15 minutes telling you why. But I'm just going through the process with you. Then you go to school. My first impression of a kindergarten was a boy coming over for no reason and smashing me on my head with a hammer. That was my first real experience of evil inside a body. It never stopped there. My whole life I was targeted because I was happy, I was joyful, I laughed. I was targeted by the 2.5% of evil inside these bodies that we call bullies. They're not bullies, They're the 2.5% that are evil, that are causing suffering. You can use psychology. You can use it all you want. Oh, he was a boy that was abused when he was a child. He's an orphan. Yes, you can use all of those things. But I knew children that were abused and that were orphans, and they were beautiful souls. So no, your psychology doesn't work, pal. It doesn't hold up this argument. My argument holds up much better, much better. Two twins, both twins are loved exactly the same. One is an evil shit and the other one is beautiful. Work that out then. Where's the psychology there? Oh, well, one got more than the other. One got loved more than... No, they didn't. They got the both same parents. They were both loved equally. I know this to be true because I've gone through it many times. I am a healer, and I used to sit with twins, and I could tell the difference between their souls and spirits. So, well, the one that was sat with me, the other one wasn't there, and I could feel, wow, this is a deeply disturbed spirit. So I don't have... Psychology is just put there for us not to go down the path that I'm speaking about. It doesn't want to talk about this. That's why I'm never invited onto any major podcast. Never, because they don't want the real truth to be told. And that is what I've just shared with you. So we go through life, and now we're getting older. We're starting to try and heal through the trauma that has been the attack constantly, whether it's from our father who has abused us, a mother who has abused us, whether it's a family who's abused us, whether it's a girlfriend, a boyfriend, or complete strangers. We're going through this. Okay, so now we're trying to find our path. We're now at 30, 40, we're trying to figure out our life. There comes a point where I believe something happens. What you've been through, everything that you've been through has made you who you are to a certain point for that moment. And sometimes it doesn't happen, sometimes it doesn't, and I'll explain why it doesn't, and sometimes it does. When you're a good soul, you get to a point where this is your moment. My moment was 38. You can call it awakening. I don't believe that. I call it preparation to the point where now we are walking the path of what we've trained for. And all of that training was the abuse, the loss of my mother in the spirit world, the constant nightly spiritual attack by a trapped spirit that I had to go through, and all of those, tons more stuff. But to the point at 38, now I'm following my path. I get to the point where I let go of everything, go to a different place. All of a sudden now I need to find out what this new journey is. Why has this happened? And I need to follow that. When the pupil is ready, the teacher appears. This is absolute. So all of a sudden these people started appearing, talking about, gifts, talking about deeper things that I know real, but nobody ever talked about in Huddersfield. So, all of a sudden now, I know what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying. I've been through all of these things. Nobody's ever mentioned this in my life. I get what you're saying. All of a sudden now I'm realizing that everything that I've learned, every pain, every suffering that I've been through has led me to the point that this is my destiny. This is my path. So I became a healer. I became a future reader. I became a spiritual reader, a soothsayer, a seer, whatever you want to call it. I became somebody that I was born to become. So that then leads me to this point where evil can teach you. So that the evil that's inside these bodies can be your teacher, and you not even know it. You know something's not right, but because of the good in you, you're trying to help this person thinking without knowing that you can't change evil. Evil is evil. But you know something's wrong. There's a deception. There's something not right. This person is my friend, but they're only my friend because of conditions. Wow. Why would you have conditions? Why would you are doing this, Mag, you're doing this wrong, you shouldn't do this, you should do what I tell you, you should never think for yourself. my first teacher, I said, you know what? I can't deal with this anymore. I cooked, I cleaned, I chauffeured, I gave everything. I did my life. I basically lived her life. I became her life. And the moment I stepped away saying, I need to be on this journey, spiritual journey on my own, it was at that point she became the rook, the raven. And now, as an eagle, I am starting to soar. But now she's on my head and she's pecking me. She's pecking me. And you know what? I rose. I lifted myself higher and higher and higher. How? I stopped fighting. I stopped listening. I stopped biting and just kept rising and rising until there was no air for her to breathe. And she left my life. Most people would fight that raven until they're exhausted, and then their spiritual journey is over. It's finished. So when you say to me, why haven't I found my spiritual journey? I would say there's a good point, there's a strong point, there's a strong argument that you had your spiritual journey path and a dark being saw this and they come to stop you, and you fought back, you listened, you reacted, your energy started to fight, and then you lost your way because of that. They stopped you from finding your path because you interacted with them. You didn't soar, you didn't elevate like the eagle does, so that when there's no more air for that rook and raven, when you don't fight anymore, you just soar, it just drops off. That's how I stayed on my spiritual path. I stayed on it because I realized that no one has the power over me. And that came to me by spirit. I sat in a chair in the center of my healing room after exhausting every shaman, every medium, every spiritual person that I said, help me stop this Wiccan high priestess who is attacking me every day. Please help. None of them helped. It continued until the point I was exhausted and I surrendered, and I sat in the middle of the chair and I looked up and I said, please help me. Help me at this point. I don't want to lose my spiritual path. I know this is my path. I know this is what I have to do. Help me. And my right hand went above my head. My left hand held out, and the words came out of my mouth. No one has the power over you. And I kept repeating it. And I don't know why I kept repeating it until about 3 or 4 minutes went by, and then all of a sudden I went, oh my God, no one has the power over me. Freaking hell. I'd been saying the words, but I didn't mean them. I was saying the words, but I didn't understand them. I was saying the words, and all of a sudden that penny drop moment came. No one has the power over you, Mark. And it was like a shower of gold energy flowing through my body. And I just dropped everything. I just soared. I never talked about it, never looked at it, and I just knew that my path was more important than the distraction, than the demonic, than entity, than everything around that tries to stop you from achieving that path. Thus, I did what many fail, and I was blessed in that moment because I asked, and for the first time I listened, for the first time I truly listened, and at the point of listening I received the strength, the spiritual power to become a healer and heal over 10,000 clients and give my love and healing to this day, and I help people to this day. So that's my message to you guys. Think about it. Have a lovely day. Bye for now.